PMDD shaped my life for 17 years before I could name it. I spent those years searching for answers, questioning my sanity, and desperately seeking treatments that actually worked. My painful journey had an unexpected twist. Helping others heal from PMDD became my life's purpose. Hi, I'm Jess, a board-certified nutritional therapist, coach, the founder of Her Mood Mentor, and your host. This is PMDD Pep Talk, a weekly reminder that your suffering is real, your experience is valid, and your future is brighter than your symptoms suggest. Each week, we're going to explore the truths about PMDD that nobody talks about. The kind of truths that shift something deep inside you and make you think, maybe there's more possible than I imagined. Whether you're in the depths of luteal darkness or riding the clarity of your follicular phase, you're exactly where you need to be. Because here's what I know for sure. Healing PMDD isn't just about managing symptoms, it's about transforming your life. This challenge, as brutal as it can be, is an invitation to know yourself more deeply and live a more joyful, purpose-filled life. PMDD might feel like your whole story, but it's just a chapter, and you get to write what comes next. Welcome to PMDD Pep Talk. Quick pep talk pause. Remember that everything we talk about here is meant to educate and inspire. Always team up with your healthcare provider for personal medical advice. All right, now let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to another episode of PMDD Pep Talk. Today we have an episode that you voted for on Instagram. We ran a poll and the most wanted new episode was this episode. So here we are recording it and I'm so excited. This is an episode that is near and dear to my heart. I'm very invested. You know, I'm a Midwestern girl in my core. I am a DIYer. I am a lover of frugality. That's just something I have not been able to shake, and I don't want to shake in my adult life, growing up in the Midwest and just living that lifestyle. And so when we're looking at addressing hormonal mood symptoms and PMS and PMDD specifically, and when we exist in the modern world as we do, we are being sold all the time on this or that. And I'm also a product girl. I love products. I love trying things. I love finding the best version of different, little areas, whether it be skincare or supplements or things around the house. I also love being a consumer in many ways. But I love a DIY and I love that frugality at the same time. We have to hold capacity for all parts of ourselves, even when they can be conflicting. And today we're going to be diving into free things that support PMS, PMDD symptoms, and your hormonal moods. And I want to unpack this a little bit in the beginning because really, to just give it to you straight, if you don't do some of these free things, you can spend all the money, you can implement the most aggressive and complicated protocols. If you're not doing some of these things already that are free, your medications, these protocols, these interventions, these products aren't going to move the needle as much for you because many of these free things are so foundational. And in our work at Her Mood Mentor and our programs and our courses, foundations are key. We always start there. We're never going to bump you up to something more complicated, more aggressive if you don't have the foundations in place first because of this fact. It's just you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. So I want to just, wave that flag and air that out because that's the truth. Something else that's the truth, again, holding capacity for two truths. When it comes to PMDD, you have to do the foundational things. And also we struggle with a sense of worthiness, with a sense of, deserving in investing in ourselves, in putting our needs first and prioritizing ourselves, right? That PMDD brain can be telling us all of the meanest things that anyone could ever say to us are being said in our brains to ourselves. So you may really struggle with feeling like you're not worth investing in. You're not, whether that be time, energy, or a financial investment. I also want to hold space for that truth and call that out because even when it comes to these free things, I can see my clients and myself being like, oh, well, I don't have time for that. Oh, that doesn't really matter. Oh, I'm not, I don't need that, right? When if I was talking to a friend or I was parenting, I would have a different stance on that. Yes, you do need to take a break. Yes, you do need to drink water. Yes, you do need to go to the bathroom when you need to go to the bathroom. Yeah, I'll tell myself, no, probably not. That can wait. I don't need to, invest in this new supplement that I found that I know is going to be beneficial for me based on my lab test results, right? There's so many ways that you can talk yourself out of supporting yourself, whether the intervention be free, low cost, high cost, whatever it is, time, energy, that's at play. So I want to, again, set the stage as we have this conversation for the mindsets that you're going to be navigating, even when it comes to the free things. And I also want to say, some of these are going to require a minimal investment, potentially. Like, for example, when we get to the food conversation, you're already buying food, right? You're still going to have to buy food. So, but there's also a range of, hey, here's the free way to do this. And also here are some other options that you probably are already aware of, maybe some that you're not, that you could use. But there's always a way to get there at a lower cost if finances are really the barrier. But when that's the case, it may come with more energy, more time spent. So you have to really look at the nuance of the whole conversation. Something else I wanted to share as we're getting into this is a couple of other episodes that we've done play into this conversation as well. So I'm going to talk about them throughout, but I'm just going to talk about them here in the beginning as well, because you are probably, if you like this episode, going to want to go back and listen to those other episodes. So the first one I'm going to be referencing is episode 5. It's called The Secret to Healing PMDD. And this whole conversation in that episode is all about how small things add up. And just like our conversation today about these free things that you can do, these low-cost things that you can do to improve your symptoms, it's going to be a cumulative effect of all of the small things. When you have really severe symptoms, it's logical to think, I need a really severe intervention. But luckily, and I've seen this over the last 8 years, I've seen this with myself, luckily, that's not the truth. You don't need a lobotomy. You probably don't need a surgery. You don't even potentially need invasive medications. Of course, that's always your choice, but small things can add up. And just because your symptoms are so severe, it doesn't mean you need a severe intervention to match that. The cumulative effect of many small changes and many small supports can make a huge difference. So I want to remind you again of that truth. So that's episode 5 if you want to go back and listen to that. Another one that I'm going to be referencing, and I reference this all the time, is the rest versus distraction episode. Rest is free. Distraction is also kind of free these days, depending on what you're using to distract yourself. But understanding that conversation is really going to be a precursor to some of what we're talking about today. So that's episode 6. Another episode I'm going to be talking about and referencing is episode 9. That's called What Healing PMDD Actually Looks Like. And that episode is all about how you don't actually want to cure your PMDD symptoms, how your symptoms are a communication, and you want to learn to listen to that communication in order to heal your symptoms. And when I say heal, I do not mean cure. So in that episode, we also go into the distinction between healing and curing. Even the etiology of healing is to become whole with your experience. It is not never experience symptoms again. That is not what cured versus healing means. That's not what we're talking about. And I also get into why you don't want to disappear your symptoms forever, how they're actually a tool and a communication from your body about what your body needs and the next steps that you're going to want to take in order to address that symptom. All right, so let's get into it. And And again, without these foundations, your medications, your supplements, your protocols, your other interventions are not going to work as optimally as they will if you have some of these foundations in place, which luckily are low cost, even free. This is, a basic analogy, but again, think of it like building a house. You can't skip the foundation and then expect the walls to stand up. You can't decorate the house and paint the walls without laying that foundation first. We want to jump to the fun stuff, right? We want to decorate, we want to paint, but no, we have to start with building that foundation. And many of these free and low cost steps are going to lay the foundations for you to then come in with the supplements, then come in with the more aggressive systematic protocols based on hopefully your lab test results, your symptom assessment if you're working with us, your specific symptom pattern and presentation, in order to target that with more specific protocols, more specific approaches. It's not going to help you if you're not doing the things. Let me just say this again. I say this all the time. You can meditate all day. You can pray all day. If you're not eating food, if you're not eating food regularly, if you're not eating to your total daily energy expenditure, if you're not eating macronutrient balanced meals, you will have symptoms. Praying, meditating, not going to solve your PMDD problem. Although those are fantastic, more targeted layer on top of the foundation protocols that can come in and make a massive difference, can absolutely help you once those foundations are in place. I could also do an entire episode on each one of these points, so just keep that in mind. We're gonna buzz through these. I don't want to take too much of your time here today. I want to give you what you came for, which are the free and low-cost things that you can do to improve your symptoms, but there's so much more to each of these. Like, for example, this first one, your light relationship is massively going to impact your symptom duration and your symptom severity and your moods in general, regardless of the menstrual cycle. So I teach an entire workshop on seasonal depression and PMDD where we dive deep into the light relationship conversation. We're not going to do that here today, but if you want to go down that rabbit hole with me, please do. You can watch that workshop. It's so fantastic. It was so fun to make. But your light relationship has a lot to do with your symptoms. Your circadian rhythm tells your body and all of the organs and systems in your body to do things at certain times. So if you're inside, if you're on screens, if you're under LED lights, which are going to be exposing you to a lot of blue spectrum light, your body thinks it's midday all day, not to get into the flicker conversation of what that's doing to your brain, you're going to have symptoms. It's going to happen. So many of us are suffering from this because we have moved over from incandescent light bulbs to LED light bulbs, and we're also spending a lot more time inside and a lot more time on screens. So this is something everyone is facing, and this is something that is even more important if you have children, because let's set them up for success and not lead them astray with where we're starting from here in 2025. All LED lights, all screens. So correcting, monitoring, and managing your relationship with light will change your life. Mic drop. End of story. There's so much to unpack here, but let's go through some quick basics. Getting outside as soon after you wake up, no hats, no sunglasses, no sunscreen, to access the UVA rise is going to help set your circadian rhythm. It's going to improve your sleep. It's going to improve your hormone production. It's going to be a catalyst for all sorts of things happening in the body. Getting that morning light exposure within 1 to 2 hours of waking up, ideally first thing if you can get out there. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, even 3 to 5 minutes if that's all you got. But working that into your daily routine, getting out there as soon as possible after waking. It matters because it sets your circadian rhythm, it supports hormone production, it boosts your mood, it improves your sleep later in the day. So we're always working to start out in the morning, getting that morning light, because it's going to be impacting our sleep at night. Even 10, 15 minutes on a cloudy day, you have to be outside. If you can't get outside, open your window. The window has a film on it that's going to block UVA, UVB light, because that helps temperature regulation inside the home. So sitting in front of your window, even if the sun is coming through, is not getting you these UV spectrums that you need in order to entrain your circadian rhythm. Again, there is so much. I mean, I just want to talk about this forever because I'm such a nerd for circadian biology. It's so fantastic. It's so fascinating. Oh my gosh, I just cannot. So something else to know here, if you live north of Atlanta in the United States, you cannot access UVB light for half of the year. From November to March over the winter, you could be outside all day naked. Sunny day. And you would make 0 vitamin D from the sun, because the way that the sun is hitting the earth isn't exposing you to that UVB light spectrum. You can only make vitamin D from UVB light. Vitamin D is key for moods. Go check out our blog post on this. Key for PMDD symptoms. Lots of research linking low vitamin D to PMDD. We see this all the time when we're running labs for clients. And you can't just take a vitamin D supplement. There are many metabolic, like over 9 chemicals that are created through vitamin D synthesis from light exposure to the skin that you can't get from taking a supplement. So yes, we're going to take a supplement because if it's indicated, if the need is there, if we don't have the access, if we haven't built up our UVB and melanin stores when we have the exposure to the sun, March through November in the summer, in the spring and summer, we'll use a vitamin D supplementation if necessary. But do not fool yourself in thinking that that's the same, that that's adequate, because it's not. Something else to shift gears in the light relationship is going to be blocking blue light at night. If you have just basic LED light bulbs, it's going to be emitting a blue spectrum light, which is telling your body that it's midday. As it gets darker and as it gets dark at night, that is going to be blocking melatonin production, which is your precursor to sleep hormone. So dimming lights, turning lights off, using lamps, getting incandescent light bulbs, getting circadian support light bulbs, like I'm always talking about, where you can change what color is being omitted, is going to support you in blocking that blue light. But do not confuse blocking blue light at night and using a red light bulb with red or near infrared light exposure. Those are 2 different things. Again, we unpack that in the SAD and PMDD, seasonal depression and PMDD workshop that I teach. Go in depth on all of these topics. We get into the circadian biology of it all, but getting as much daylight, light exposure outside, no glasses, no sunglasses, no hat, no sunscreen ideally, because even glasses like I'm wearing here have that film that are going to block UVA, UVB light, even if they're not sunglasses. So I have to take these off to get that light spectrum in my eye outside. So getting morning sun, taking light breaks as much as possible, and then blocking blue light at night. You can also install for free on your devices a color filter that is going to block blue light. I have one on my computer right now. We have them on our Apple TV. It's just a setting. You can create a shortcut. If you're watching actually on YouTube or in a clip, if we make a clip of this, you can also use your phone like I have here. I have a shortcut on the side. I press that 3 times. Puts the light filter on. Now my screen is red. It's blocking all blue light. You don't have to go full Monty. We've been getting into circadian biology, my husband and I, for 6 years now. So we've ramped up to this level of neuroticism with our light relationship, if you want to look at it like that. But it has changed our lives. And so we didn't start with all of these gadgets and all of these shortcuts in place. We built that up over time. But installing light filters on your screens, on your desktop, on your TV, free way to block blue light exposure at night if you're using devices, turning off lamps, dimming lights, using circadian supportive light bulbs are going to be another option for blocking blue light at night in order to support natural melatonin production, deeper sleep, and better stress hormone levels. So key, which is going to impact your sex hormones, and on and on. Circadian biology is everything. Clearly super passionate about it, so interested in it. So if you want to learn more, make sure to check out the seasonal depression and PMDD workshop, where we dive into haplotypes, we dive into so many fascinating things that I would love to share with you. So let's move on to the second free low-cost thing that you can be doing to improve your symptoms, and this is hydration. I have a Venn diagram of chronic and acute dehydration symptoms that overlap PMDD symptoms, and almost every single symptom falls into the both category. So hydration is so underlooked, but it's really key for hormone signaling and that communication that's happening cell to cell, because every single cell is encased in what's called a phospholipid bilayer. This is a fatty layer, so your healthy fat intake and healthy fat status in your body matters along with hydration. But if you're dehydrated, it's going to impact that phospholipid bilayer. And all of your cell hormone communication happens cell to cell. That's what hormones are. They're little chatterers going around the body, telling the body what to do when, and communicating back to the brain. So when you're dehydrated, obviously you're going to have dry skin, you're going to have headaches, you're going to have mood symptoms, you're going to have food cravings, you're going to have fatigue, a lot of symptoms like this, but you're also going to be hindering the communication of your hormones and the detoxification of the hormones, because everything has to move in and out of that cell. And if that phospholipid bilayer is becoming dehydrated, it's going to be harder for all of that communication, all of that detox to happen, which is going to be impacting your mood. Now, when it comes to hydration, this isn't just about drinking enough water and carrying around your giant Stanley like I have here. It's about minerals. You need minerals to pull water into the cell and actually have cellular hydration. So, yes, drinking water free, you can drink whatever water you have access to. Should you? Probably not. Testing your water is really important. Making sure you're not drinking out of plastic bottles, all the time is going to be very important for endocrine disrupting chemical exposure. But I'm putting it here because this is a low-cost, potentially free option. I do encourage you to test your water. I do encourage you to implement remineralization for cellular hydration, for adrenal support, for mood support. The mineral, again, I could and will do an entire mineral episode. I'm just as passionate about minerals as I am about light biology, so trying to keep this episode short, but just starting out, the majority of our clients are significantly dehydrated, and this is really just no foundation to stand on when you're looking to reduce and manage your symptoms. So we commonly recommend drinking half of your body weight in ounces. Take your body weight in pounds, divide it in half. That's how many ounces you should be drinking. We're usually hitting around 64 to 72 ounces for an adult female, around 2 liters. Now, if you live in a hot climate, if you're pregnant, breastfeeding, if you exercise more, if you're saunaing more, you're going to need more minerals, you're going to need more water. So that's a general recommendation. You always have to apply general recommendations to your specific body and your needs and how you're feeling. But I suspect the majority of you who are listening to this, if you're anything like our student client population, you're starting out dehydrated. So this is a simple practice to start correcting. It's something you have to do every day. It's not like you're ever hydrated, check the box, moving on. This is an all day, everyday thing. And it has to be on the list of foundations, and it is free if not low cost, in order to do this. Now, when you get into installing filters and things like that, that can be costly, but it's in a one-time upfront cost. Generally, you're going to have to change the filters, but that would be a worthy investment if you are finding a lot of heavy metals or contaminants in your water and things like that, because it's just going to be hindering your healing process. The next thing I want to talk about, free low-cost thing that you can do, is working on your sleep hygiene and reducing sleep noise. We have an entire module on this in PMDD Rehab that walks you through all of this, but some free low-cost ways are trying to make your room as dark as possible, continuing to support that light relationship, so you're getting healthy melatonin production at night, having a cooler room. You can open windows in order to do that. You don't need to crank the AC necessarily, depending on where you live. And then most importantly, having a consistent sleep-wake schedule. So going to bed around the same time, waking up around the same time, even on weekends, because you start to get into kind of a jet lag scenario, which you definitely have experienced if you've traveled. You definitely experienced if you've had a big break over the holidays and your sleep schedule is getting off, things start to get wonky. So supporting your hormones is going to be supporting your sleep-wake schedule and prioritizing the importance of sleep, making sleep non-negotiable, because it doesn't take very long, 1 day, 2 days of poor sleep quality where your moods and your hormones and your symptoms are starting to ramp up, and the recovery from that takes time. Now, my heart goes out to all the moms out there, right? Because this is just your life, is navigating this. So we're not looking for perfection in any of these areas. There are certain stages of life where sleep hygiene is definitely negotiable based on your circumstance at the time and your responsibilities at the time, but we just do what we can. And then most importantly, when you are in those seasons of life, you're offering compassion and you're holding that context. As in, I'm not broken. Something isn't wrong with me. I'm not getting the sleep that's required to have healthy moods, healthy hormones, healthy energy levels. And I'm going to be nice to myself about that. And I'm going to hold that context in my reality every day, all day, until that changes, because you don't always have control over some of these aspects. So we have to remind ourselves that this is a factor that's playing into the severity and duration of your symptoms, if it is. And then work with the areas where we can to make any improvement. You know, even if you are a mother, you can support your light exposure and your natural melatonin production, right? Even if you can't get 8 hours of consistent sleep. So there's always so much you can do, and we're not aiming for perfection here. The next thing that we'll talk about is some nutritional foundations, right? You have to buy food anyways, so instead of buying processed foods, start slowly shifting to choosing more whole foods. Shopping on the outer section of the grocery store aisles on the inside are going to be more processed. We're looking to eat more things that come without a label. And of course, when you can, choose quality options, but still eating a non-organic piece of meat is going to be healthier than eating a highly processed, something that comes in a box. So don't be scared of food. There's so much food fear in our client population and student population. And I just want to remind you that eating whole foods is supportive, and we don't need to be scared of that. So again, not trying to tell you how to feel, but we work with a lot of OCD patterned clients who are managing that and have had, poor experiences with diet culture, poor experiences with food fear, and we have to moderate that and nourish ourselves the best that we can. And please don't be afraid of whole foods. So shifting from buying more processed foods to buying more whole foods. Evaluating your total daily energy expenditure and making sure you're eating enough is also important. The majority of our clients are massively under fueling, or massively dysregulated in their macronutrient balance, getting very little minerals, getting very little micronutrients because of that. So eat enough of the right things. If you're like, Jess, I don't know what that means. Again, we teach an entire program on helping you navigate this. We work one-to-one with clients, evaluating lab testing of various sorts, looking at your nutrient status, reviewing a food and mood journal, and providing nutritional therapy. So if you need more support, we're there for you. But kind of evaluating if you're eating enough, because you very likely aren't, or you're in a binge and purge cycle because of macronutrient imbalance, most likely. So you also need protein in order to build the feel-good brain chemicals that your body needs. The serotonin, the dopamine, all come from amino acids. So if you're not eating protein, aka amino acids, you're not going to have the base nutrients to make the things that you need. We chronically see women under eating protein in our practice. So you're just not setting yourself up with the foundation to have the building blocks to make the things that need to be made to help you feel good. You also need cofactor nutrients, minerals, and vitamins to kick off all metabolic reactions in the body. Again, aka have energy and vitality. You need those. So that's going to come from whole foods. That's going to come from macronutrient balanced meals. And all of that is so foundational to you having good moods. So what does this look like? No surprise, more vegetables, quality proteins, healthy fats, whole grains. Eating enough. Another factor is going to be balancing your blood sugar. Huge impact on mood. Huge impact on mood. Let me say that again. Blood sugar, mood, married for life. Blood sugar, another thing. You don't regulate your blood sugar, check the box and move on. Blood sugar regulation is an all-day, everyday thing, and it's not just food that impacts your blood sugar. Stress, movement, sleep. So some of that we can't control. Can't control external stressors. Can't always control our sleep. Can't control movement. Can't control what we're eating. So working to balance blood sugar, so many tricks and tactics and really important things for you to know about that. But again, free, low-cost thing you can do with food frequency and macronutrient balance in order to balance blood sugar levels and impact positive moods rather than feeling mood swings. Next up to talk about in the free and low-cost ways to manage and reduce your symptoms is going to be movement and / detox drainage support, kind of in the similar category here. So daily exercise. This doesn't have to be a HIIT workout every day. I don't, in fact, recommend that. But you do need to move your body, whether it be stretching, walking, going to some sort of exercise class, whether it be yoga or spin or a HIIT workout, depending on where you are in your cycle phases. Movement is going to support detox and drainage pathways. It's going to support, aka by supporting detox and drainage pathways, you're supporting hormone metabolism, which is so important. It's also going to help you release endorphins and feel better. We need it. I've been hyping regular movement and I've been working toward more consistent movement. And this is the first year that I've really been able to check that box. And I can't believe it because obviously, but it's one thing to know something because you're being told, right? I'm here, I'm telling you, hey, do this thing. It will help you. And you're like, yes, yes, I know that. I know that cerebrally in my brain. Then you do it. You regulate the blood sugar, you maintain hydration, you remineralize, you move your body regularly, and then you can know it in your body. You can feel it in your body. And that somatic knowing is another level of knowing. It's a more conscious level of knowing than that cerebral, oh, I've been told this and it's logically making sense in my brain, so I know it. Are you following me here? We want you to implement these things, not everything at once, not aiming for perfection, but I want you to start shifting from unconscious knowing to conscious knowing because you're doing this. The conscious knowing is magical, and the conscious knowing helps perpetuate coherence with the protocols, coherence with the action steps that we're talking about here, right? When you start to feel it in your body, no longer does it become something you have to check off your to-do list. It starts to become something you want to do because you're feeling the benefit. You're seeing the benefit. You're actualizing as a human being at a higher level. That is motivation. Me telling you, yeah, move your body more frequently, ideally every day, remineralize, rehydrate, fully on a cellular level, right? Not super motivating, interesting, thought-provoking, fun, I think. Not motivating because you haven't done it, you haven't felt it, you haven't somatically known it on a conscious level. So that daily movement is key. When it comes to supporting drainage and detox pathways, a lot of this is free as well because, we want to hydrate, we want to eat more whole foods, which are higher in fiber, so we're going to be having more regular bowel movements, right? We don't necessarily need a supplement to support that potentially, depending on what's happening in your digestive tract, what's going on. You may. It's very common that we do provide digestive support every single time for every single client. But having a daily bowel movement doesn't necessarily have to cost you a ton of money. So going to the bathroom, hydrating, flushing out those toxins through the urine, right? Those are really super important because you are, again, metabolizing excess hormones, used up hormones through the bowel. So if you want better moods, you need to poop out more estrogen. Sorry to be crude, but that's the reality. That's how you get it out of your system. Now, when it comes to detox and drainage pathways, it's not just the bowel, it's not just the, your kidneys and your frequency of urination and your hydration. It's also going to be your skin. It's also going to be your lymph. So sweating through exercise is going to support that. Movement through exercise is going to support lymph detoxification. Also, you can do lymph massage, which is free and so magical. So that would be another thing on this list that I would encourage that kind of falls into the movement, kind of falls into the drainage and detox support. The next one, which should have been the first one, honestly, definitely should have been the first one, is a free, low-cost way to support the reduction and duration and severity of your symptoms is listen to your body. Listen to your body. This is something you're probably not doing because your body has felt like an aggressor. It feels like you against your body, potentially. You maybe are dealing with some level of neurodivergence, and those interoception cues aren't as strong as they are for others. So you may not read them. You also could have ignored them for so long that your body isn't really communicating them to you anymore. So we have a whole system of doing this with our one-on-one clients, of helping them build trust with the body, helping them listen to their body's cues, because at the end of the day, our core message here at Hormone Mentor is that your symptoms are a communication. That's the truth. They're not an attack. They are here to tell you what your body needs so that you can answer. And you're probably not doing that. So this should have been first on the list. Starting to rebuild the trust with your body by tuning in, getting the cue, and then doing the thing that the body needs. Now, this is going to be easier with, I have to go to the bathroom, so I'm going to go now instead of waiting. I'm thirsty, so I'm going to drink water now instead of waiting. I'm hungry, so I'm going to eat a snack or a meal now instead of waiting. Those are going to be easier cues to pick up on than some of the symptoms specifically. Potentially. I mean, we don't need to get in and unpack this as much as I want to, we could do a whole nother episode on this of, how symptoms communicate very specific things about organ function, body system function. I love it. I love to go there. I love it so much. I'm not going to take you there right now. But if you want to go there, schedule an introductory session with my team and we'll run your symptom assessment. And do we go there? Yes. The first call, we go there. We break it down for you. We tell you what body systems are being impacted, what body systems and dysregulation are driving your symptoms, what it means. And then we talk about what we can do about it. But before you get to that level, just starting to listen to your body and give it what it needs. Because we're resisting a lot. We're disassociating a lot. We're distracting a lot. And this is creating distrust on a deep, internal, somatic, even spiritual level, you could say. When your body is giving you cues and you're not showing up for it, that is a wound that's being created. No one else is going to show up for your body in that way. No one else is getting the cue. So we need to start kind of creating a parental relationship with the body. Again, this is a whole process we do in our one-to-one program, in our PMDD rehab program. We talk about this. We teach about this. We have to change the mindset and the perception of the body and greet it in a new way. And this is the first, most basic free step. Watch for the cues, answer. Watch for the cues, answer. Over time, you're going to start to build trust within the body, trust within yourself. You're going to build more confidence within yourself. Your body is going to communicate to you more. You're going to recover some of that wound. You're going to heal some of that wound that has been perpetuating some of these mindsets of nothing works, I deserve this, I'm not worthy of doing this, that, or the other thing. All of those negative thoughts automatic negative thoughts that your brain is communicating to you. This is a kind of backdoor way to start to change that. I love, manipulation isn't the right word because it comes with such a tinge of, it's not good. But persuasion, maybe let's use that. Persuasive ways that actually help you change the thing rather than these direct ways, and you're trying all of these direct ways to address an issue and then you're not getting there. Sometimes we need a whole nother approach. And I love providing those. I love discovering those. I love exploring and experimenting and bringing curiosity to those. And this is one of the ways that you can start to heal your relationship with yourself and your body, your perception of yourself and your body, your confidence, your self-worth. You wouldn't think it, would you? You wouldn't think, I'm going to go to the bathroom when I need to. And that's going to start to change my relationship with myself on a deep core level. Probably not thinking that. And how could you change your relationship on a deep core level with yourself if you're not meeting your most basic fundamental needs? Right? Okay. I'm loving this conversation. Thanks for having it with me. Thanks for being here and being curious about these free and low cost ways to reduce and better manage your symptoms, because it's so fun, isn't it? It's so fun. So still unpacking this sixth point on listening to your body's cues. Another thing I really want to tie in here, because it is a body cue of when you need to rest versus distract yourself. So this goes back to episode 6 of the difference between rest and distraction. But really allowing yourself and being able to make the distinction between, am I resting or am I distracting myself, and when do I need to do each thing? Because you do need to do each thing, and they both serve a purpose, but you don't want to be unconsciously checking out and thinking you're resting when you're actually distracting yourself, because you do need a threshold of rest and you're probably not offering it to yourself, and you're like, why is nothing working? Why am I not feeling better? Why? you might actually not be resting at all. You might simply be disassociating and distracting yourself. And there is a cost to ignoring that signal. Another thing I want to talk about here as well is this like nervous system state of constant doing. Multitasking. How many things can I do at one time? Right? Let's move away from that and let's start to just do one thing at a time. That could be the biggest challenge if we said, hey, just over the next 3 days, just try to do one thing. Don't try to clean and listen to a podcast or have a conversation and have the laundry running and so on, so on, so on. Just one. Probably much harder for you than you would think. It certainly was for me. And I realized at a point, I am doing everything like the world is ending. I'm on like a deadline. And if I don't vacuum the house as fast as possible and also have the laundry running and have something baking in the oven and have, the Instant Pot going with our dinner and have a conversation while the music is playing, all at Mach volume, Mach speed, then what am I doing? This is a very dysregulated nervous system state. So slowly breaking yourself away from that by doing less multitasking is a good first step. Free. Totally free. Completely free way to support your nervous system. Another thing here, let's see. We have a whole nother nervous system section. So let's move on. Okay. 7th point, boundary setting. It is hardest to set boundaries with yourself, so I encourage you to start there. Setting boundaries with negative coping mechanisms that aren't serving you, like distraction could be one of them. Setting boundaries, there's so many negative coping mechanisms that we all have. And so setting boundaries and starting there and really working to with your automatic negative thoughts, really working to bring your consciousness back to yourself. Where can you set boundaries with yourself in order to reduce and manage symptoms? Hey, multitasking is one. Hey, resting more is one. So much here. Endless amount of conversations we could have around boundary setting. Again, teach a whole lesson on it in PMDD rehab. Set boundaries with your toxic thoughts. Set boundaries with your unhealthy coping mechanisms. Set boundaries with your sleep routines, your nutrition, endless. So just pick one and start practicing setting a boundary with yourself. This is going to improve your ability to set boundaries with others, to recognize boundaries others are setting for you, to become more comfortable with boundaries, which you likely struggle with due to PMDD. And then you can start to set boundaries with other people. Set boundaries with your schedule, set boundaries with invitations that you get, right? We really need to do a lot of work with boundaries when it comes to PMDD. And again, this is a free thing that you can start doing and endless amount of work forever to do in this realm. Moving on to section 8, the next thing you can do to reduce and manage your symptoms for free or low cost is working on your own self-development and cultivating purpose in your life. An entire module in PMDD rehab is on purpose and improving your relationship with purpose despite the wounds that PMDD has inflicted in your life, likely, and more so the longer that you've been living with symptoms, misdiagnosis, undiagnosis. So working with self-development, tons of YouTube videos, tons of books, tons of podcasts, so much free content to help you working on self-development, on self-actualization, on becoming more conscious, working on your confidence and self-worth, also falling into this purpose category, connecting with a sense of purpose despite PMDD. We do all of this in our one-on-one program and in PMDD rehab. So if you're looking for support in specifically the PMDD realm and how this impacts your sense of purpose and meaning, your connection to your values, your awareness of your values, it's huge. Personal growth is a huge part of reducing and better managing your symptoms. PMDD can be the catalyst to actualize you into the best version of yourself. And I know you're like, cancel, unsubscribe, this lady is crazy. That can sound very offensive depending on where you are in your journey. Absolutely get it. I would have been like jaw on the floor. Are you kidding me? If someone would have said that to me in the duration of 17 years of unmanaged, mismanaged symptoms, undiagnosis, all of that. But now going on 8 years in this new path, it's the truth. Your symptoms are a communication. When you learn to answer them, when you learn to reduce and better manage them, you become a better version of yourself, and that compounds, just like anything else compounds in one direction or the other. So personal growth is going to support your nervous system. It's going to support your hormone balance. It's going to support everything else. It's a big part of symptoms. And one of the reasons there's so much shame and guilt with PMDD is because you are acting out of the discomfort of your symptoms directly against your core values, which you likely do not even know what your core values are. But because you're acting out of the discomfort of your core values, because you're acting out of the discomfort of your symptoms and going against your core values, you're carrying a lot of shame and guilt. And then you're living in this damage control cycle. I'm catching up. I'm apologizing. I'm rebuilding my sense of self. I'm recovering from these episodes, these psychological and physical episodes that are coming from this hormone sensitivity and lots of other factors that are driving the intensity of your symptoms. For example, if family is a core value and I'm yelling at my family, I'm creating conflict in my family, I'm creating rifts in my family, I'm making my family scared of me because of my behavior, that is a bigger wound for me to carry because family is my core value. Well, family is closest to you. So if family is your core value, family is going to be the most detrimental core area in your life because you're closest to your family. So your hormonal mood symptoms are going to impact your family the most. So there's a lot of guilt and shame that are coming out of that. Now, I'd like to get more specific than family being your core value, but again, we unpack all of this. This is the first thing we do in our one-to-one program and something we do in PMDD rehab as well, because you have to break that damage control cycle and you can't without the awareness. And probably no one has walked you through that process. And even if they had, you change over the course of your life. So your needs, your interests, your core values are also going to change. I'll do a whole episode on that. But self-development is another free, low-cost place to spend your time. The 9th section of free and low-cost things that you can do to improve your symptoms is reducing toxic exposure. And here we're looking at removing endocrine disrupting chemicals from your environment. Here, I would encourage you to go back to episode 25 and listen to Healing Through Subtraction for PMDD, because it's similar to this episode where we're talking about free low-cost things. When it comes to symptoms, we're often thinking, what do I need to do? What do I need more of? And some of the most powerful healing tools are removing things, actually. And this free low-cost thing of reducing your toxic exposure is a healing through subtraction conversation. So we dive deep into that in episode 25, but a quick list here is like stop using anything with a fragrance, stop using cleaning products, DIY your own that are very low cost, basically free, vinegar, baking soda, things like that. Ditch polyester clothing, toxic chemical materials that impact your detox and drainage pathways, because they impact how you're able to sweat, what you're reabsorbing, and then you're absorbing chemicals through your skin. So, any kind of body product, makeup, clothing, personal care products are all going to be worsening your symptoms because these chemicals block hormone receptors, mimic hormones in the body. They're going to disrupt your symptoms. They're going to make your symptoms worse. They're going to impact detox and drainage pathways. so many things here, and this is a hard area because everything is toxic basically when you get into it. We have an entire module in PMDD rehab, the environment module. We're not just talking about endocrine disrupting chemicals, but it's a major part of that module where we're unpacking all of this and how you can make these changes for yourself. And like I said, many of these are free, low cost. So go listen to episode 25, consider enrolling in PMDD rehab, getting the full conversation of how you can make those changes. It's going to improve your symptoms. The next section here, which everything we've talked about is also impacting your nervous system, but there are many free nervous system regulation practices that you can do to support better symptoms. Signal safety to the body. There's so much research on how PMDD is impacting your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which then impacts your other hypothalamic pituitary axes, including thyroid, in your endocrine system. So this is another place we start out in the beginning of our one-to-one program, is teaching you how to regulate your nervous system. Again, you don't regulate your nervous system, check the box and move on. This is an all-day, everyday thing. So some techniques that are evidence-based that we teach and use are going to be a variety of breathwork exercises, a variety of meditation exercises, a variety of vagal nerve exercises, earthing, grounding, emotional freedom technique, so many exercises that you can be doing to support more nervous system regulation that are free or low cost. And again, this is going to be continual, every day, all day, something you're going to be navigating and tools that you're going to be bringing in and utilizing. Okay, I only have a few more for you. This episode is so much longer than I was expecting. I love this one though. For the 8th free low cost thing you can do, make it more pleasurable. Make your life more pleasurable. PMDD is probably sucking the joy out of your life at every turn, whether it be the fear and doom of what's coming next or the recovery of that damage control cycle that you're potentially stuck in, as many of our clients and students are. So where can you just sprinkle a little joy and pleasure in, whether it be listening to your favorite song and having a little dance break, whether it be, adding a essential oil diffuser and having that running in your house, or wearing something that makes you feel good, small sensory pleasures that signal safety to your nervous system, any amount of joy, even if, this is a practice that joy banking is a practice that we work on with our clients, even just becoming conscious in the moment when something pleasurable or joyful is happening. Things that are already happening and you're just noticing it and aligning with that moment and becoming conscious and present in that moment is going to add more joy and pleasure to your life. Harder to do than it sounds, but that's huge. Also, celebrating your wins. This is so important. This is baked into our entire one-to-one process. It's something we do every single session. We do every single group coaching call. It's huge because we're working to retrain that negativity bias that comes along with PMDD. You don't just retrain the negativity bias. You don't just buy a supplement or work on meditation and the negativity bias is rewired. This is a continual thing that you're going to be working on shifting and adding more pleasure and joy banking, becoming conscious of joy and pleasure, cultivating more joy and pleasure in your life are going to be huge things for shifting your PMDD experience, your relationship with your symptoms, with your body. Love this one. I only have 2 more for you here. The 12th free low-cost thing you can do in order to reduce and better manage your symptoms is leaning on your community, asking for help when you need help and support. Isolation worsens PMDD symptoms. Isolation increases all-cause mortality. Isolation is not helping you. It's something we do. We feel like we need to do to protect ourselves and others. And sometimes it's true. We do, right? But working to shift that over time. There's lots of free support options, online communities, leaning on your friends and family. I would use caution with online communities. This can be triggering very toxic emotional dumping ground. So be connected with yourself. And when if those communities start to feel like more of a hindrance than a support, you please remove yourself if that's the case. But if it's helpful, and as it is for many, often that is going to be out there for you. And this is something that our clients really struggle with, is asking for help, communicating what they're going through. And it can really change your experience when you start to do that. This is something we advocate for and teach you how to do in our programs. And it's one of the most common things that clients say coming out of our course, out of PMDD rehab, and coming out of our one-to-one program, is just like how different it is that they're able to communicate, they're able to ask for help, they're able to lean on their support network, how much it changes things, even if the symptoms haven't changed that much. Like, we're always working to help you reduce and manage symptoms, but there's so much around the experience that can improve the experience outside of reduction and management. Believe it or not, there's a lot to it. So leaning on your support community, asking for help, reducing your isolation tendencies is huge. The last thing, the 13th free and low-cost thing you can do to reduce and better manage your hormonal mood symptoms is going to be to work on your mindset and attitude. I think this plays into self-development and purpose, but it's a little bit different in that here you're leaning into really specifically reframing negative thought patterns, having more self-compassion versus self-criticism, gratitude practices, journaling, improving your relationship with yourself. It could easily fall into the self-development and purpose category, but we have it separate here because I think we really need mindset and attitude work. We really, really need it with those automatic negative thoughts and that negativity bias. So here it is. First is improving your relationship with light. Second is hydration with minerals. Third is sleep hygiene. Fourth is your nutritional foundations. Fifth is movement plus detox and drainage pathways. Sixth is listening to your body. Seventh is setting boundaries with yourself and others. Eighth is self-development and cultivating a sense of purpose. Ninth is reducing toxin exposure. 10th is supporting nervous system regulation. 11th is adding pleasure to your life. 12th is community and support. 13th is your mindset and attitude. And that is where we're wrapping it today for free and low cost things that you can start doing. There's a lot there, so don't try to do it all. Pick something that's standing out, something that's interesting, something that feels doable. Start working toward it. Let me know how it goes. I would love to hear from you in the DMs, how things are going. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions or input, we would love to hear from you. If you're enjoying these episodes, we would love for you to leave a review. It helps us reach more people. It helps us bring more hope to the PMDD community. So just take 2 seconds, leave a quick review on what you think of the PMDD Pep Talk podcast. And then as a reminder, episodes that you want to reference, we're looking at episode 5, The Secret to Healing PMDD. We're looking at episode 6, which is Rest First Distraction for PMDD symptoms. We're looking at episode 9, what healing PMDD actually looks like. And then episode 25, healing through subtraction for PMDD. Those are all support episodes for what we covered here today. And I want to remind you that these free and low cost things, these really are not optional add-ons. They are the foundation. So when you're going in and you're building on more targeted, more specific, more personalized protocols for yourself based on your lab testing, your symptom assessment, if you're working with us, your nutritional therapy evaluations, all of those more targeted protocols are going to work better, including your medication if you're on medications, including your counseling if you're going to counseling, if you already are working on and supporting these foundations that happen to be free. And I want to remind you, you are worth the time, the effort, the investment that these practices require. So I challenge you to pick 2 to 3 to focus on this week. And I encourage you to reach out to us, to leave a review, to check out our blog. We have so many more resources to help and support you. And then I also want to remind you to follow along on Instagram and vote for the next PMDD Pep Talk podcast episode that you want to hear. All right. Thanks for spending the last hour with me. It's been so fun, and I'll see you next time.